At DePaco Credit Union, we value your health and happiness as much as your financial well-being. We encourage the volunteer spirit by providing DePaco employees with the tools and resources to help grow our communities and support the causes that matter to us. We believe that giving back not only strengthens the places we call home, but also enhances our overall well-being. Well-being is the key to a life worth loving. So when you think about yours, remember that DePaco can help you be well.
All things Hawkeyes, your all-access pass. From courtside to the postgame. Iowa's News Now Sports presents Eye on the Hawks. Sponsored by DePaco Community Credit Union and Pin Seekers.
You just never know when it's going to click, and I hope that this is going to be a really good a good clicking moment for Addie. But I was hopeful for that.
Sure looks like it might be the game for Addie. Boy, great one last night. Welcome to Eye on the Hawks with Owen Sebring and Mike Howell. The special guest we have with us today, a man who's forgotten more about Hawkeye women's basketball than Mike and I could ever know, Jeff Linder from the Cedar Rapids Gazette. Jeff, how long have you been covering the Iowa women's team?
I think this is 17 years under the current Lisa Jan regime, and I had him for 2 years when Angie Lee was coaching.
Really? So you go back to the Angie Lee era?
The first 2 years of Angie Lee.
Really?
So 19 years.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, let's start talking about first the game last night, and first we do need to tee it up with Pin Seekers, so we thank our sponsors from Pin Seekers as we're in the DePaco studio as well. So let's talk about that game last night against Oregon. Addie Deal, maybe her breakout game, her freshman season. How did you, from what you've seen from her for the first 2 months of the season to what you saw last night, gosh, just night and day difference it seemed like.
Yeah, absolutely. You took the words out of my mouth. She was great last night. What was she, 7 for 9, and I think 4 for 4 from distance and 18 points. And boy, she looked, it was a 5-star performance from a 5-star kid.
Was that, I mean, did you think that we'd see that this season? Just because so many people, I mean, maybe to their detriment, a lot of people expected Caitlin to come in, and Addie Deal to be Caitlin.
I think we thought she'd start from day one, right?
I did too.
Yeah.
And I think, and Jan brought it up last night, there's a lot of couch people that, think they know a lot more about the program that never visit a practice or rarely go to a game. Yeah. But, you see 5 stars, you see a top 20 kid, and you think, boy, she's going to be the next Caitlin, or at least the next Lucy Olson or whatever.
Same
but
logic,
and it hadn't happened, but it didn't need to happen until it still didn't, because they still have so much depth that they've been able to get by with a human Addie Deal instead of superhuman. Yeah. So, but yeah, she was great last night.
Is it hard for you to answer, like, is this something that only Jan could say, like, why you think it started to click last night? Do you think the plan was to go in with Addie being the main focus, or like maybe did Addie hit a couple early shots and they're like, all right, let's just ride the hot hand?
I think it was the latter. I don't think, I'm sure they didn't think, today's the day that, that Addie's going to go off, but she sure did, and that certainly gives Iowa, a new look, another dimension going forward.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say that, like, how different is this team if that's the kind of performance you get from night in and night out, when you're looking at, this next 6 stretch of games is pretty tough.
Oh, yeah. The next 5 are really, really tough. And, I still don't think you can expect 18 points a game out of her. If you can get 10, that's still a really big bonus from what they've been getting.
Do you think that she enters the starting lineup in the near future?
I don't think yet. Okay. Jan's loyal to the veterans.
Yep.
And
Taylor McCabe would be the spot that she'd take at this point, right?
I would think so. Yeah. Jan's really loyal to the defense that Kylie gives. Mm. But I don't think we're there yet. Yeah. It's one game. It was one great game, but and maybe putting her in the starting lineup. I think she's capable, but maybe that's just too much to expect at this point.
Yeah. Something we've kind of asked each of our guests that have come in and talked about the women's team is, like, who do you think right now is the best player on this women's team? Because it seems like every night, some nights it's Ava, some nights Hannah's got a great night, some nights it might be Chit Chat. Last night it was Addie. Overall, who do you think is the MVP of this team?
I think it's Chit Chat. I think she is the person that they can least afford to lose.
Interesting.
With Ava probably 1B.
Yeah.
So that's where I would go. What do you think?
I am inclined to say Ava just because of the production that she's had, and with Chit Chat having had to miss what did she miss 3 games? I think 2 or 3 games.
Yeah.
I mean, Ava stepped up, and she's just been so big in so many of their games that it's like, if you miss Ava, yes, I suppose you do still have Hannah there to fill the void, maybe Layla there to fill the void, though she's still young and kind of learning things as she goes as well. But I would maybe say Ava. It is kind of right there. But I mean, Mike, are you still saying Chit Chat, or what do you think?
Yeah, we started talking about this in November, and I think it was after Miami and Baylor game. I was like, I think Chit Chat's the best. And then our next podcast was like later in December, and we're like, well, I guess maybe Ava is the best. I'd go Chit Chat too. I mean, last night when she had that awkward jump where she fell on her back, like my heart stopped. I'm like, man, if she misses time when you're looking at Michigan State next and UCLA in a couple weeks, Ohio State as well, that'd be a tough person to miss. Although like when I was into the season, I thought Layla Hayes would be a little more there by the time this part of the season hit, and I haven't seen as much. I guess I haven't seen her progress. Maybe it's taken a little bit longer like it did Ava last year. So I think if you lost Ava, it'd be tough too.
Yeah, and I think, Jan says that everybody progresses at different rates. I think Layla made more of an impact early than Addie has, or Addie did. But now I think Addie's, maybe she's making that jump now and reaching expectations.
It's almost like the exact same scenario we saw last year where Tegan Mulaney came in right away and had some really good games early in the season and then faded a little bit later on. And then, Taylor Strimlow maybe started a little slower, and then later in the season they were relying on her a little bit more. We're kind of seeing the same out of this year's freshman.
Yeah.
As a guy who follows the Hawkeyes so closely, when they pick up a big recruit like an Addie Deal, like a McKenna Velitsko, like a Layla Hayes, do you go on and like try to find footage of them, or are you like trying do you dive that deep when it's a way out of state prospect?
Well, I try to find what I can, and I'm not a. I guess I'm kind of more of a prove it to me person. I don't get into the hype much and I don't follow the recruiting as much as some of these other people do. As far as hey, this is a person that's probably going to come here, might come here. I wait till they commit, because I think following maybes is kind of a waste of time.
I'm frankly amazed at some of the people who do follow the recruiting circle, like our friends at 24/7, like Eichholt and Ethan and all them. It's like you've got to follow so many people and know who's offering what and when they get. I'm like, how do you even figure this stuff out? It like baffles me how many people they have to follow on Instagram and on X, like to just figure out who's going to maybe go where.
I mean, the football team just picked up like 12 people this portal, and I'm sure they visited a lot more and were interested in more. So. Talking about like 20, 30 guys, you're just following, and then you just discard right after that. Sounds tough.
Yeah, I can't imagine, being a football guy trying to keep up with all that.
Oh, my gosh, yeah, I can't imagine. So. I'm curious now, as we talk about this year's freshman, and I'm kind of curious about the future, have you looked into Velitsko very much? Have you seen her game? Do you know what she offers?
A little bit, and you couldn't look at much last year because of the knee injury, so you'd have to go back even further.
That's true. She just came back in the last few weeks.
Right, and I'm sure by the time she gets here, she's going to be ready. And here we go again. People are going to want to say this is the next Caitlin, and that's not fair because she's not, and she's 18, and we'll see. I think she's going to be a really good impact player. I know they're very, very high on her, so we'll see. That's all you can do.
I'm kind of curious because, going back to Addie, one thing that did kind of clue me in early on that she might not be a contributor right away was like, even during the summer interviews when they would let us come and talk to them, we'd ask about, how's Addie look? How's Addie look? And they're like, she's good.
Yeah,
she's
coming.
Nice. She's progressing. Nobody was like really like, oh my gosh, she's so amazing. Every shot's falling. Like they weren't gushing about her as they did like Lucy the year before when she transferred in.
And I think there might have been more hype around Emily Rodriguez than any of the other newcomers.
Yeah.
So
just based on what she did in practice.
I think last summer people were going to say she's going to start. She's going to score 15 a game, and obviously that hasn't happened.
No, that has not happened.
Yeah.
Is there any update to that situation, or I guess
she's still day to day?
Day to day.
Yeah,
okay.
That's what we've heard for a month. And
do you expect her to play at all this season, the rest of the way?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard
I
to
don't
tell.
know how this one's going to end. I just don't know what the the last chapter of this story is going to be, whether it's, at the end of this season or if it's 2 years down the road and she has a great career. I just don't know where things are going to go with this.
Yeah, it's tough because, I mean, like you say, this summer there was a lot of talk because they were like, holy cow, like this is a guard who's like big, tough, strong, can shoot, like can drive. Like she really had a multifaceted skill set and showed it early on in the season. But just have not seen it. There's.
I think a lot of projections from people, and some people that know more about me, that are probably a little bit closer to the program, thought that the starting lineup was going to be Stuelke, Hayden, Rodriguez, Chit-Chat, and Addie. I think a lot of people thought that that's the five they were gonna go with.
And that take McCabe and Feuerbach out, right?
Right.
Yeah. And I think that maybe they could be removed, but like especially with Kylie, I mean the way they talk about this almost every presser, it's like her defense really seems to be invaluable to what this team is going to do out there.
And McCabe gives more leadership than she gets credit for, and she's still a kid that's capable of going off for having a 5 for 8 3-point game against anyone.
Yeah, there are times where Taylor shows up and she'll put in 12 points or something, but then last night they probably weren't leaning her on her as much last night with how well Addie was shooting, but she was 1 for 5 on 3-pointers. Like she has that game, and then she'll have a game where she's maybe 4 for 6 or something.
Yeah, back to Kylie. I think early on the season, I don't know if we talked about it on this podcast, but I think I was a little harsh on her because I was like, from the scoring wise, you didn't really see it, but these last 2 games, you've seen how important she is in the second half and against Indiana, the defense she played in last night is just like a whole different team, it seems, with her in.
And if you look at Kylie's assist to turnover rate, that's almost 3 to 1.
Really?
Yeah. And Jan says she's a glue person, she's a fixer, and I think she's right. I think we saw how much she. I think she's one of those you don't appreciate her until she's gone kind of kids. And when she leaves, I think that's going to be a hole to fill in a lot of different directions.
Because who's the next best defender after Kylie, you think?
Probably Hannah.
Okay.
Hannah for her spot. I think Taylor McCabe can play some defense. I think Chit-Chat plays well defensively. I would say this might be the best defensive team Iowa's had in early in the Bluter era.
Yeah. Really?
Going
back 20 years potentially?
Maybe.
Really?
I'd have to go back and look and see what they've been giving up, field goal percent and points per game wise, but I think those 2 stats would stack up very favorably through the last 15, 20 years.
And those 3 best defenders that we just mentioned, all 3 of them are seniors who have been around this program for a long time, and unfortunately all are going to be gone next year.
Right, and that's going to be different.
Yeah. Is that part of what, I mean, Hannah, too, has had her games where sometimes she looks really great, but then she has, the Indiana game.
2 for 11.
Yeah,
and
not great.
Consistency hasn't been there.
Right.
Good Hannah's been very, very good.
Oh, yeah.
Average Hannah's been, average.
Last night, 4 for 9 on free throws.
Last night, but career high 8 assists.
That's
true.
She was dealing.
18, 8, and 8. That's, and it probably should have been 21, 8, and 8 if the free throws would have gone better.
Yeah.
And she could have a few more assists. I think she just. Yeah. I don't remember exactly, but I know the announcer at one point, or the play-by-play person was like, that could have been another one, but someone missed like a layup or a shot.
Could have had a few more. I mean, I feel like there were a couple missed layups last night too that she could have had a few more points on there.
Right.
As well. So.
Right. But yeah, she was good last night.
Has her, boy, I mean, you've covered Hannah probably since she was freshman in high school.
Yeah.
I mean, being a local kid, I know you've seen her for a long time. Has her progress been what you anticipated it would be? Has her injuries kind of slowed down the progress that maybe she was capable of as a college athlete?
Well, the first 2 years she had Caitlin getting her the ball, and that I think that really was enabled her productivity to rise. She's had to do a little bit more on her own the last couple of years. I think she's kind of leveled off a little bit from her sophomore year, but she's still a very quality player and somebody that's going to be playing basketball somewhere next year, whether it's overseas. I don't know if the WNBA is in her future, but I'm not going to say it's not.
The more Ava seems like she progresses, the more I think Hannah is able to do what she does.
Yeah,
just because
I
like
agree.
having somebody else out there that defenders have to worry about, it seems like Hannah can finally like actually be one-on-one and do what she wants to do.
And they can both play the 4 and the 5, quite well.
Yeah.
Hannah, spent most of her career as a 5. Now she's more of a 4. And next year, do we see Ava moving to the 4 and maybe getting some Layla and playing both of those
Interesting.
at the same time?
Will size be an issue next year, boy? Because I mean, do they have any bigs coming in, or because next year really is going to be just
it's just Velichko, unless and she is 6'2".
Oh, is she?
But yeah,
Is she like a 3-4? Or?
She's a 3-4, yeah. There's always the portal, and who knows how that's going to pan out.
Yeah.
They're losing 4 next year, right? This year.
So Hannah leaves, Kylie leaves,
Taylor.
McCabe leaves,
Gyamfi leaves.
and Jada Gyamfi leaves.
Yeah.
Who I'm not sure if will. I mean, sounds like she could be back later.
Yeah, I don't. I think she's ready to get on with life, and
I mean, we may have forgotten. I think Kenise Johnson.
I think Kenise Johnson's a junior. I think
really?
I think she has another year, but where's that going to go? I assume she'll finish her eligibility here, and the wild card in all of this is Ava Jones should be a junior, and if that would have worked out, how much does that change this team if you've got another?
Last year
3,
or this
4,
year.
Yeah. When she would have been a freshman, when Caitlin was a senior, would she have been that missing piece that would have gotten them over the hump in 24?
Yeah, that is one of those.
Because I heard she was really, really good.
Yeah, that is one of those what ifs that like we just we'll never know the answer. Which like, it's not obviously a direct parallel, so I don't want to pretend it's that way. But it's a similar way that people could talk about the Chris Street situation. You
Right.
know, how like
Yeah.
if he hadn't been killed, like
Yeah.
what could Iowa men's basketball have been back in the
Yeah.
early to mid '90s, and
Right.
what could they have been with Ava Jones on this team?
Yeah.
Either the last couple of years or this next 2 years. Boy, she could
Yeah.
have really turned into something special.
Yeah.
But we have the team that we have, and
Yeah.
who knows who they might even lose to the portal. I mean, is there outside of the ones that are graduating, do you see more potentially portal bound, or do you think that everybody's pretty stuck here? Mainly it seems like the question is usually around the younger players that like a Chit Chat, like a Journey Houston.
Chit Chat's staying.
Yeah.
I would think Journey would be staying. I have no idea where, like we said, what's going to happen with Emily Rodriguez. Where's I really don't know. Tegan Mulaney's minutes, I don't know, where that's headed. I have no information that either of them are leaving, but you just wonder, is the grass somewhere, greener somewhere else?
Is this how many times in your time covering this team? Because one thing that does stick out about like the Emily Rodriguez situation is like, and I wonder this from the start, being somebody who's from a very different culture, somebody who is like not a native English speaker, like is it tough to gel on this team as much as this team really loves each other well and loves everybody that comes in, and I'm sure Emily was part of that too. Like it still can be hard to connect with people that you don't speak the native tongue, and you're from a very different culture. I mean, she was raised in the Dominican Republic until college even. I mean, I think that she maybe spent her last year or two of high school.
Maybe her last year or two of high school in Florida, yeah.
So it's like there is still just very different background, and gelling it could be a little harder. Is she the first like foreign-born player that you remember coming to the Hawkeye roster?
They had a girl from Spain. She didn't play much. I can't remember the name.
Gustafson.
No, she was not from
Spanish
Spain.
national.
Yeah.
But Paula Valino something.
Really?
Yeah, about 6-8 years ago she was there. She was from Spain. She didn't play much, but yeah.
Yeah, so it's just not. There are some programs that seem like pretty much every men's program right now is welcoming as many foreign-born players,
And
Europeans that they can
Oregon
get.
had 2 or 3.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, last night, and it's something that's coming, and it's. Different programs have different levels of success with it.
So, yeah, I just didn't know how much that would play into the Emily situation. Like, just cultural differences can sometimes creep in where maybe you don't expect them. I'm not saying, again, that I have any sort of inside information that I'm speaking to, but it's just like that is an interesting dynamic, just a wrinkle in, how the team chemistry works, when we bring somebody like that in. But, we hope for the best for her. And
yeah,
love to see her back
I
on
hope
the
it
court.
works out. And we talked to some other people in the media, and everybody you wish the best for the kid. You wish the best for the program, and you hope it works out.
Do you feel like, I don't know if you feel like you're a good scout of knowing who's got WNBA talent when you watch these teams? How many WNBA players do you think you see on this year's Hawkeye team?
Oh, boy. That's tough. Stuelke, maybe.
I could see her being a player that gets drafted and gets a chance at camp. And
Hayden, maybe.
Yeah.
Chit-Chat's pretty small, but you never know. We'll see where things go with Addie Deal, what her ceiling turns out to be. I would say all 4 of those kids are going to play somewhere.
Right.
And, the bucks are bigger overseas. So
that's true. Yeah, why not? Yeah, those were, at least those first 3 were the ones that I had kind of thought about, that Hannah, I think, will get a shot somewhere, and could kind of be like an Ashley Jones, where she gets a shot, maybe gets picked up on some of those 2-week contracts when a player's injured, something like that, and maybe is able to prove herself, kind of like Megan. I mean, Megan really had to prove herself to the WNBA, and it's taken a while, but she's a solid role player now.
Yeah, and it's tough. What are there, 12, 13 teams and 12 spots? So
an expanding number of teams now. I mean, we've got one new one this year, and then in the next 3 years, we've got like 3 more teams. I think they're coming.
Yeah,
so
still, 16 times 12 is.
We've gone from 144 to I don't know, whatever that math would be. 12 times 4 is 48. So getting close to 200.
200-ish, yeah.
Roughly roster spots available out there. So that's still a lot of college players trying to get in there. Sorry, Mike, were you going to say something?
Oh, I was going to say, just like Megan Gustafson, remember when you interviewed her, she talked about she developed a 3-point shot. If Hannah could do that, then I think there's obviously a way better chance of that.
And she has that too in her arsenal. It's down low on the list of tools, but it's there.
Yeah.
And I think with some work she could develop that. I guess I'd say free throws better be the priority right now, though.
Yeah, that's something that I'm kind of curious to look up the stats now for where she's at on free throw percentage right now.
I'd say
do you know off the top of your head?
55 to 57%, somewhere in there probably. I mean, maybe I'm a little low.
It's something that has developed, and from where it was when she was a freshman, it's like that was just such a glaring omission from her game, was her free throw percentage. Was so
this season she's 44 of 82, 53.7% free throw.
So she's down from her last 2 years.
Yeah.
Last year 67.
Yeah, up from her freshman year when she was 46%.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's rough. But yeah, shooting 53 right now. Again, there just hasn't been a game where it's come back to bite them really.
Right.
I don't remember the Cy-Hawk game if that was an issue at all, free throw shooting, but UConn game.
I think it was for both teams in the Iowa State game. I think both teams were pretty low in that one.
Each of the last 2 years, that's been a weird issue in the Cy-Hawk game. I don't know why, but UConn, there's no amount of free throws that you could have made to make that anywhere near competitive. No. At this point right now, I mean, let's take a look. Do we have a look at the next handful of games the team played? Let's bring up the next 6 games or 3 games or however many we see. We have the next 4 games for the Hawkeyes, so 3 ranked opponents, 1 team that's been ranked. I think there's another ranked team after USC
that would be UCLA.
UCLA.
Yes.
Can only fit 4 on the graphic.
Yeah.
But I also threw their net in, and then their rankings in Bart Torvik.
Am I right that last night's win is a quad 1 win for the Hawkeyes?
I would think so.
They were 23rd in the net. I think I saw somebody post.
1 through 25 is, but if Oregon dropped, then out of 25, then it would be a quad 2.
So we have some possible quad 1 wins coming up here with Michigan State, who's ranked number 15 right now. Maryland, at Maryland, always a tough challenge for the Hawkeyes. They're ranked number 12. Ohio State, ranked 14th, and then USC, who maybe is not as good this year as what people projected. Obviously, no Juju Watkins in the lineup. That's been hurting that USC.
Still going to be a handful over there.
Yeah, they just lost to Maryland, I think, pretty considerably last night.
I think it was close.
Oh, was it close?
I think it was very close.
I could be wrong. And then after that is the UCLA game. So what's how many winnable? I mean, are all 5 of these next games winnable ones, or do you envision that it's going to be a challenge for everyone, or do you see a few that are like, okay, that's a good game for Iowa?
Maryland away is going to be really, really tough. UCLA away is going to be really, really, really tough. If they could somehow eke out 3 of those 5, I'd say that'd be great.
They'd be in really good standings.
Michigan State home, I suppose they're probably a slight favorite there. USC there's probably a toss-up. Ohio State here, about the same. Yeah. So 3 and 2 would be super.
Again, you know more about the women's game, especially. How long have you been an AP voter for the women's poll?
Off and on throughout the years. Probably the last 5 or 6 years since the Gazette became an AP paper.
Okay.
So, and you're doing it for the men, right?
Yep, that's right.
How do you like doing it?
It's fun. I mean, I do. I know I said before the season, like, boy, I've really got to like ramp up my men's basketball knowledge because it's like I really, would just kind of follow casually until football season was over. I wouldn't pay too much attention the first couple months, and then, tournament time. All right, I kind of know these teams, but I really did a ton of research preseason and trying to see what players, what teams people were projected to, and so I definitely knew coming in that like getting, not exactly hate mail, but like getting roasted for some of my rankings.
Sensitive Purdue fans.
Yeah. Purdue fans, Seton Hall fans, Michigan fans. I mean, I could flame a number of fan bases. BYU fans that are unhappy with where I put their team, but Illinois fans, Tennessee, or not Illinois, sorry.
How about Michigan fans? Like
they were mad because
they were number 2 instead of number 1.
No, there was a few weeks ago that I went Arizona, Iowa State, Michigan, and they were mad that I had them in number 3.
Yep.
So, anyway. But yeah, so that has still been hard because I'm 39 years old and I have been working in the industry for a while, but I still have my sensitivities about like maybe because I felt like I was really trying to learn ball that I'm like, oh boy, maybe these people are right, maybe I am a jackass that doesn't know what I'm talking about. Like, so I did really have to learn like, okay, no, I know what I'm talking about, and these fans, yeah, they're upset, but like, so is every fan base. There's so many metrics out there. Oh, but Seton Hall is, they've got 2 quad 2 wins, and this team only has 1 quad 2 win, and there's so many metrics out there that people love to follow to rank the teams that you just kind of have to go with your gut because if you follow different polls, there's a million different ways that you can rank teams.
And there's always going to be another one next week, so you can always fix it next week.
How do you like doing it? Do you enjoy it? Do you still get people that are upset?
I think the biggest one I got was it was like the second week of the 23-24 season, and Iowa had been number 2 the previous week, and I don't know who was number 1 at the time. I think it was LSU. Yeah, it was LSU after they won the championship. So LSU got beat, I think, by Colorado, and Iowa had won whoever they beat, and it wasn't anybody great, but people thought that Iowa should be the automatic number 1. While South Carolina had beaten like 2 top
Power 5
10 teams. So I moved South Carolina all the way up to 1, and I heard about it. So
from Hawkeye fans.
You're a hater.
Yeah.
I'm either a homer or a hater.
It is tough though in the college basketball season. There's a point where in the beginning you're projecting, right? But at some point in the season, and there's so many like bye games that where do you actually learn? Where at some point you got to switch and be like, okay, who has the best resume to be number 1?
And that was kind of the case with the LSU women. I mean, they started 6 and just beat everybody 120-50. About 10 straight games. But
this year, you're saying?
Yeah. But they hadn't beaten anybody, and they finally played a couple SEC teams and lost them both and moved them down a ways to like 12 or so. So it works itself out in the end. Now we're starting to get a little bit of a sample size in the conference races, so now you kind of put the conference standings into context here a little bit too.
It's one of the things that's hard for me is like there are certain social medias I avoid, like Reddit. I've never done anything with Reddit. I don't even know how to use Reddit. The website confuses me. But like friends who are on Reddit see college basketball polls and people saying like, oh, can you believe Owen Sebring's poll right now? It's such bull crap. Like this guy doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
You're an outlier.
And yes, which is not a place I want to be.
Yeah, I'm always an outlier.
And again, in the first 2 weeks, it's like it's maybe a little more obvious when you're an outlier because resumes are so hard to judge. The first 2-3 weeks of the season.
Right.
And so my friends are like sending me these comments that people are having. Oh, isn't this funny? I'm like, no, this hurts my feelings.
I'm gonna go check it out now. Reddit thread. I think
let's bring that up on the screen here, Mike.
If you have a methodology and you stick to it, I feel like you can, because there's 50, maybe 40 voters. It evens itself out.
I think. For men, there's 61 over.
32 for the women.
And if everyone took the net as their number 1, then you just have the net rankings. If everyone took like Ken Palm, I think it's good to have different views to even that stuff out.
Right.
As long as you can defend your ranking, I don't think anybody has a right to really get on you about it.
But I think I told all my friends that would text me, I'm like, I don't want to see that stuff either because I'm like, it's hard to avoid getting a little biased when I
Yep.
hear that, where I'm like, oh shoot, maybe I should be putting Tennessee in my top 25 again. Maybe I should move Michigan up. Like it just like gets in my mind. And I'm like, oh, maybe they're right. Maybe, but I'm like, no, I need to trust myself and not allow myself to be.
Or you go the other way and you get spiteful about it.
Oh, Purdue, you want to be number one? How about you're number 7 now?
Yeah, you're number 18.
You mentioned the conference standings kind of evening out. I did a back to Iowa, tied for first place with UCLA. Do you see it realistic that they contend for a regular season title, or do you think that's just way too early?
Ask me in 5 games.
Yeah.
It's UCLA's,
To lose.
race to lose or win, and I think they're a clear-cut favorite. Maryland's got 2 losses already, and I think they play UCLA coming up this. I think it might be Saturday, so they might be sitting with 3 losses, and we might be looking and should have another one. They should have lost to Minnesota.
Yeah.
They were up down 9 in double overtime with 40 seconds to go and won it.
Yeah.
But Iowa could be in that mix for 2nd through 4th maybe, and I think the first goal should be to get that double bye for the conference tournament, to get into that top 4.
Yeah.
And anything more than that would be gravy. I'll ask you a question.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to ask questions?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What would it take for Jan Jensen to be a heavy consideration for Big Ten Coach of the Year?
For Big Ten Coach of the Year, I would say they would have to finish. Boy, to be in heavy consideration where it's like, oh yeah, for sure, Jan is a strong candidate. I would say like top 2 in the conference. Like I'd say, you don't necessarily need to beat UCLA or be an outright conference champion, but as long as you're in that top 2, maybe top 3 spot.
Yeah.
With how good there have been weeks. There's 8, 9, 10 teams ranked in this conference. Like this is has to be best conference in America right now for women.
Along with the SEC.
Yeah.
SEC's got 9 teams ranked right now.
Wow, really? Okay. Jeez.
And what was Iowa projected
Well,
to
they
finish?
weren't. Remember, the Big Ten doesn't do 1 through 18. They just do 1 through 5, and Iowa wasn't in the top 5.
Yeah, so we know that much.
So-
UCLA was
and-
projected to win, right?
Yeah.
UCLA, so yeah.
And so it's easy to take Corey Close for granted. And remember, Iowa, what were they, tied for 8th last year in the Big Ten?
Is that what it was? Yeah, I
think
some
so.
were very in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah.
That 5-game losing streak early in the
Yeah.
conference calendar didn't help them. But yeah, I would say if they're a top 2 finisher and they really start to beat, if they win 3 or 4 of these next few games,
Yeah.
I think people really will start talking about them as talk about her,
Yeah.
especially as a Coach of the Year candidate.
Yeah.
You have that kind of argument for Coach of the Year. Should it be a team you didn't expect that
Right.
overperformed, or if UCLA is undefeated,
Yeah.
you just have to give it to her?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's always the weird situation with Coach of the Year. Like, how many Coach of the Year awards has Gino Auriemma won? Like,
Probably not as many as he should.
yeah, it's like, it just is assumed that this guy's probably the best in the country. So, hard to give it to somebody. Here's a little trivia I have for you, Jeff, with you following the women's game so closely. If we're just thinking about the Power 5 conferences here, after Gino, first off, Gino started his job, do you know what year? 85?
No, yeah, that sounds about right. It might have been a little later than that because 95 was the big breakthrough year for them.
Right. So I've actually got the chart pulled up here.
Okay.
I've got the chart of longest tenured college women's coaches right now. So Gino is, so this is his 40th season. 85, 86 was his first year. Could you name the next 3 longest tenured Power 5 coaches after that?
Bill Fenley has to be one of them.
He is number 2 on the list behind Gino, starting in 95. Yep.
Oh, boy. Vic Schaefer, maybe? Would he be up there?
I don't see Vic Schaefer here. How long has he been at?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, how long has he been?
He hasn't been at Texas long. He took Mississippi State to a title.
So this is,
a few years ago.
at their
at the same place.
At the same place,
boy.
yeah.
Dawn Staley's probably not up there, is she?
She's closer to the top. Yeah, she started in 08-09 was her first season.
Okay, Brenda Fries.
Brenda Fries is number 4 among Power 5 coaches right now. Yep, started 02-03 was her first year.
Yeah.
And the other one is a Midwest guy. I don't really know this name, but I imagine you know who this person is.
Give me a hint.
Big East Conference.
Oh, at Creighton?
Yep.
Okay.
Jim Flannery.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know much about him, but I didn't realize their coach had been around for a long time.
Yeah, well, because he was really good friends with Lisa, and they had
is that right?
they had their super secret scrimmages every year, and then Creighton beat them in the tournament, and I think that's about the time they started. I think that's when they started playing DePaul.
Yeah. Oh, is that who they have for their secret scrimmages?
They
now?
had a scrimmage one year, and then they had the crossover at Kinnick, and then I think this year the scrimmage was with St. Thomas, Minnesota.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And boy, I know there's an assistant coach on Creighton. Gosh, her name is escaping me. She was a stud basketball player at Bishop Heelan, and then went on to play.
Carly Tritz.
Carly Tritz, yes. Yeah. She was, when I did the Athlete of the Century countdown when I was in Sioux City, she was #1 on that list. She was an amazing basketball
She was great.
player, and she's still doing things with Creighton. She's still an assistant coach there and does a lot in the recruiting circle. She seems like she's interwoven with Iowa prep athletes because they're over here, trying to recruit some of those kids over there.
Yeah,
so,
they always get good Iowa talent in every sport.
Yeah,
volleyball.
good program over there too.
Yeah.
I don't know Jim obviously at all, but
good guy.
Time I talked to Carly, she's a great young woman too, so we like chatting with her as well. What do you think is, if you could, let's say obviously they're one of two unbeaten conference teams right now. Iowa is. Them and UCLA still haven't lost a conference game. So let's just say that this team is in the conversation for a Big Ten title this year.
Okay.
What is the maybe one or two biggest weak spots that's going to hold them back from winning a conference title?
Oh boy. The biggest weak spot that's going to hold them back from winning a conference title is UCLA's too good. And I think that's just a fact.
Me not knowing that team, is it, Kiki Rice and Lauren Betts, are those the two? The big two, or is there anybody else on that roster?
They're just good at every position.
Okay, really?
Yeah. And obviously those two are probably, Betts is probably going to be the Big Ten Player of the Year. Kiki Rice is going to be, first team All Big Ten. But what can hold them back? I don't know.
So if the answer is nothing, do you think that there's nothing holding this team back from being a Big Ten champion other than UCLA standing in their way?
Yeah, I just think that there's going to be some hiccups there. I don't know if they've got the consistency every game. They're not good enough. They're very good, but they're not good enough to play the way they played against Northwestern and Indiana and get away with it, coming forward. Yes. And they're going to have some of those games because they're still pretty young.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if Maryland is one of those games again, going over there.
That's tough.
Even when Caitlin was on this roster, they got rocked at Maryland.
Yeah, and I remember there was one game. I think Gustafson was still playing there. That they gave up 40 points in the first quarter.
Jeez.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
But they're going to be underdogs at Maryland, and if they, UCLA's probably going to be a loss. And there's going to be some other ones that are tough. Michigan State both coming here. Fortunately, they're both coming here. Yeah. Those are two good teams. Ohio State here. Right. Ohio State's here. But Minnesota's here. That's a team that you can't.
Don Plitz-White.
Yeah.
Things up there at Minnesota.
Yeah. So I had to laugh. There was I was watching the Iowa game at Indiana. I think the talent said that the Big Ten's going to have 13, maybe 14 teams in the NCAA tournament. And I think no, I think it's going to be more like 11.
Yeah.
Some of these teams are going to have to lose some games, right? Because they can't all win every game.
Yeah, that's kind of how it works. Some of them do have to lose, unless
Charlie Cream does predict at today 12, but like you said, it's still early in the Big Ten schedule, so there's going to be a lot more losses to go around.
Yeah.
I think there's about 6 or 7 teams that you can say are locks. And then, probably about 6 teams that you can say are hopefuls that still have some work to do. Mm-hmm. And then there's about 5 at the bottom that just don't have any chance.
Yeah. One more tough game they're going to have to go to Nebraska in
That's tough.
Middle of February too. That's always going to be a tough one over there. Maryland is such an interesting program. Have you ever been to a game there?
No,
in person.
I've not.
I obviously haven't either. But the fans seem to show up. For that to be a tough place to play is so wild just because it's you look at their football program.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody fear going to Maryland for a road game? No, I don't think so.
Or men's basketball?
Men's basketball, you got
not
SVP
now.
showing up to games. Maybe that's a tough place to play. But
they might be the worst team in the men's side this year.
Maryland is?
Yeah.
Really?
One of them.
Yeah.
They probably, I don't
the
have the
Rutgers
standings,
are
but
really bad, I think, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but that's it. Brenda, I mean, gosh, yeah, Brenda Fries maybe does not get as much national credit as she deserves for what she's turned that program into.
And she was the AP Coach of the Year probably 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh, was she?
Yeah.
Okay.
National Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
And she's had a great career, and kudos to her.
22 years.
And she's still not that old.
Yeah, she could be around. I mean,
she'd be 55.
You didn't cover her in high school, did you?
No.
No way.
No.
Where did she play her college ball?
Was it Arizona? Arizona State? I think it was Arizona.
Actually. Yeah.
I think.
Because she was a Cedar Rapids kid, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, she went to Wash.
Yeah. And then went to,
I think it was Arizona or Arizona State.
Sounds right.
Looking it up right now.
My
best man on the job.
my hunch is
Arizona,
Yep.
99 to 92.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. So she's about your age then, right?
She's a little younger than me.
Okay.
Yeah.
We won't betray that number. So that's to say that, like, she, again, if you're comparing her to Gino, it's like he's obviously been around for 40 years now.
Mm-hmm.
So she could stick around for another 10 years.
10 or
so,
15, yeah.
Yeah. But Lisa could have too, and she decided to.
And I'll tell you, I did a Q&A with her over Christmas break, and she looks 10 years younger than she did 2 years ago. She looks great, and that was a fun time going over to her place and visiting for a bit.
Anything really insightful that came out of that, or anything that either surprised you or you really loved hearing from her?
She doesn't love the portal, the NIL, all that stuff.
Yeah. What coach does?
Yeah. Well. Yeah. It's she's content. She's happy. She's playing a lot of pickleball now.
Okay.
So yeah.
Think you could beat her, Mike?
Probably not. Although Emily, our producer, she asked if there's a tournament in Dubuque this week. She's like, we should go play. We played this summer and just got beat like 3 games in a row and got kicked out of the tournament like immediately.
Yeah. I'm surprised sometimes. My girlfriend, she's a big tennis player, and so we've been playing some pickleball together. And her mom's big into pickleball. Her mom, obviously in her like late 60s, and it's like, we played against her once, and it's like, singles would be tough for somebody of that age, but it's like doubles. Like, she kicks our butts. Like, she's good. Like, they could just, once you get to the point where you can figure out where to get that ball on the court, like, you're good. So I won't be surprised if Lisa Bluter's got a mad pickleball game out there. You been playing at all?
No, we've been talking about it.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten to do that yet. Have you been to Pickle Palace?
Once I have, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you done the duck pin bowling upstairs?
That's amazing.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Really?
You gotta do that.
Oh man, Pickle Palace. Sponsorship? Next sponsor for the show. Let's bring him out. I am curious. We've got a couple more questions I do want to pick your brain about once we come back from this. But first, I do want to hear from Kylie Feuerbach, who we had a chance to hear from yesterday, talking a little bit about her injury. She was gone for a few games recently, and she's kind of coming back, figuring out, if she's back to 100%. Looked pretty good last night, scoring 11 points. But talk to her about her her return from her injury, as well as her relationship right now with social media, how she handles that right now.
Kylie, what was it like getting back in the swing of things after 3 weeks?
Yeah, it was really nice. 3 weeks flew by, which was good, but I was definitely itching to get back out there, so it felt good to be back.
And then have a big play like the block at the end of the game. What was that like to kind of feel like, was it like, oh, I'm back,
Yeah, it was just good. I think that second half we had great momentum. We kept going possession by possession. And yeah, we were all just really kind of just gritty, wanting that win, so doing whatever I needed to. But really good team win.
Did you feel 100% when you were out there, or do you feel like you're still kind of warming up to it a little bit?
Yeah, it definitely was an adjustment getting back out there, but I feel really close to being about 100%. Adrenaline really helps, and taking ibuprofen and whatnot. But it definitely helped, and I felt pretty solid.
When did you know, or when was it pretty much disclosed you're going to play?
We had shoot around that morning. I think I was starting to get back into it, and so it's kind of just like a day by day, practice by practice kind of thing. And so I knew that I would probably be playing, but it was kind of still up in the air, but I felt good, so.
On the pregame radio, Coach Chan said you were going to play limited minutes, and you ended up playing 24. Was that maybe a little bit more than you were expecting to play in your first game back?
I don't even know, to be honest. Like I said, the adrenaline was just running through me. I think we were initially thinking like limited, but whatever I needed to do, whether that was play or not play, just to help the team. So if that meant that I wasn't on the court because my ankle I wouldn't be on the court. So whatever I needed to do.
You're an expert on the anatomy of the ankle.
Yeah. I do a lot of research too, on my own. Yeah, I know all the ligaments and everything, so.
Well, Jan was saying that it was like kind of a weird injury, or it wasn't like the more common, so I was curious if that had any impact on coming back and whatnot.
Yeah, I think it was more just like that time span of being out was just longer than the initial or typical sprain. But yeah, I've messed this one up a few times back in high school, and so looking at the MRI, they couldn't tell what was from previous to now, and so that was kind of crazy. But I'm like really good now, so that's all that matters.
Jan has staunchly defended you and supported you to us, the last 2 or 3 press conferences, just talking about social media, stuff like that. Is that, kind of a road you've gone down, looking at some of that stuff and all that, or do you avoid it at all costs, or how's that play with you?
I have the stuff that, I can talk to my friends on, but I definitely limit what I see. I only see the things that I want to see. I don't have X or anything like that. But, yeah, I think that's a huge thing, is like seeing what you want to see and limiting what might be, holding you back.
Have to imagine the pressures that Jeff and I face as AP voters and the disrespect we might get probably pales in comparison to some of the things that people like Kylie Feuerbach and I know Hannah Stuelke has been through that as well, where she's had to take a break from social media. Like, I don't know. I wonder if there's probably something smart about the fact that, I know it's not the rule anymore, but the Iowa football team wasn't allowed to do social media for a while, right? Wasn't that a thing until about 5 years ago?
Yeah, about after the pandemic,
right?
I believe is when he changed his mind.
Yeah. And so, I don't know. I mean, there's something to that. It's not a bad idea just because there is so much negativity. It is easy to get into your own headspace.
And we were talking off mic about, Gabby Marshall got her share of it too when she was struggling a little bit with her shooting early in the season, both her last 2 years, and both times she kind of snapped out of it.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, it's like eventually they figure it out. She figured it out. I know she got a lot more. I remember after the UConn Final Four game when UConn fans thought that she flopped on the illegal screen or whatever, and it's like that resulted in a lot more negative social media stuff. And yeah, it is tough. I mean, even like I say, I'm 39 years old, and it's tough for me sometimes to deal with some of the things people say about me on social media. And I don't know if maybe you're immune to that at this point, Jeff. I don't know if you take that internally.
I'm too old to care. It smarts when people say stuff, but I guess you just got to take it, with a grain of salt sometimes, and people are what they are.
Yeah, and it's I don't know, it's something that some people are built for. Like some people almost thrive on that, where it's like the more insults they get, the more they like it or they enjoy it. And, I sometimes wish I was built that way, but I'm just not.
I remember at the Final Four the first time when I was getting ready to play LSU, and LSU goes back to the locker room for the anthem and always does that, and that's fine. And so I just took a picture of the Iowa team out there, and I said one team was out here for the anthem, and did people go crazy about that.
Yeah, the anthem is something that will rile people up if you have any certain take about that on social media.
I mean, 50% was patting you on the back, and 50%
Patriots
wanted to clobber me. So, well.
Yeah.
That's always a weird topic, too. I took a sport nationalism class at Iowa when I was in college, and my professor was from the UK, and she's like, when I came over here, I thought that was the weirdest thing in the world because unless it's an international game between two countries in Europe, like no one ever plays the national anthem. They said it would look like Russia or China. So, but it's totally normal here, and I'm not saying I'm against it, but it's just different that they do it even for middle school games they'd play it or something. It's
everything.
So wild.
Yeah.
I was doing a dive recently. We were talking about Super Bowl halftime performers recently in the newsroom, and I was looking up Super Bowl anthem performers, and I saw that there was one year.
Well, that's good. We could bet on those. So
yeah, that's true. But it was like Super Bowl 12 that they didn't have a national anthem.
Okay.
And I'm like, that too just seems, mind-boggling that there was.
So it's Cold War era, you think, or Vietnam War?
That could be. That would
Super Bowl 12 would be what, late 70s probably.
Yeah, about that 78, 79, something like that.
Yeah.
So, and I forget, there might have been a reason why, but it's like, man, can you imagine today if they just said, we're not going to have a national, man. There'd be some commentary about that.
Yeah.
One final thing I wanted to ask, just to pick your brain about, not even related to this year's team. Okay. If you take Caitlin Clark and Megan Gustafson out of the conversation, who is the best women's basketball player that you've covered at Iowa in your time there?
Kathleen Doyle would have to be in the mix.
Yeah. Okay.
I think someday I'll say Ava Hayden would be in the mix.
Wow.
Kasheen Alexander was really good. I would say those would probably be right up
Really?
there. Allie Disterhoft.
Okay.
Lucy Olson we just had for 1 year, but she was great for a year. What would your answer be?
I mean, I've only been covering this team up close for since Caitlin Clark was around.
Yeah.
So if it was just in my era of covering this team up close, I'm sure it'd probably be Lucy. But again, Ava's on a trajectory that she could be that in a couple of years. Just depending on what.
Yeah, McKenna Velichko maybe.
Yeah, it's interesting because you didn't list any names from Lisa's first, I think, 10 years or so on the job. Kasheen is probably the earliest person on there, and I think she was 2010, 11, something like that.
What's that? Kasheen?
Yeah, Kasheen, yeah.
Yeah, she might have even been before that. I started back on the beat in 2009, and I think she already had a year or two under her belt by then. So she might have been maybe like 7 or something like that.
But
so
it goes back to, just what Lisa's built there. Where it's like they weren't getting the big 5-star players early on. And then, she really turned it into they had a lot of 20 and 10, 18 and 12 kind of years back then, and it's just really elevated since the last 2 years of Megan. Years where, if I've been told right, at least, again, not being a Hawkeye fan or raised a Hawkeye fan, I don't remember this, but years where they thought does Bluter need to go?
Oh, I heard a lot of that.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that the program's stale. They're not gonna get to the next level with Lisa Bluter and all that. And well, Megan came, and then Caitlin came, and it's a different level now.
Yeah, and so there is something to be said for being patient with the program, and I think that there's a lot. Not to say exactly it's going to be a parallel, but Kirk Ferentz too. It's like people. There are a lot of people that would want him gone, but boy, if you stick it out, who knows? In 3 years, it might be something totally different.
And 8-4 every year. A lot of places would take that. 20 and 10 every year. You think Rutgers or Purdue or some of those women's basketball teams wouldn't have taken that. But on the other hand, Rutgers and Purdue, they had their days in the sun too.
And both won national titles.
Yeah, Purdue did. Rutgers got to the finals with Vivian.
They didn't win a title. Okay,
they got to the final
in like 04, 05 or whatever that was.
They got to a championship game and got beat.
Oh. History buff here. Love it. All right. Well, Jeff, I think we've taken up enough of your time today. Mike and I have to take a break, and then we're going to talk a little bit about men's hoops. But thank you for joining us today. Great guest. Thanks for coming into the studio. And we're going to be back right after the break with a discussion about the men's team and what their losing streak says for the rest of the season.
At DePaco Credit Union, we value your health and happiness as much as your financial well-being. What's your dream? A trip? A new home? Or maybe it's a green electric bass guitar. No matter the goal, we're here to help you create a plan that helps you achieve it. Share your dreams with us, and we'll work with you to turn them into reality. Well-being is the key to a life worth loving. So when you think about yours, remember that DePaco can help you be well.
Welcome back to Eye on the Hawks as we have an empty chair to my left. Jeff Linder just joined us for the Women's Basketball Podcast, a productive conversation. Now it's just Mike Howell and I discussing the men's basketball team right now in the midst of a 3-game losing streak. Mike, you had your predictions for that Purdue game, what it was going to be, and you were not high on their chances against Purdue.
I was dead wrong on those predictions that I gave off camera.
Yes, you were telling me they're going to be down 15 at halftime or something, but they hung with them. In spite of being a 3-game losing streak, does that still encourage you for what the rest of the season holds for this team?
It does and it doesn't. Obviously it does. Like, preseason, you're like, okay, you're going to Mackey, you're playing top 5 Purdue. Let's just be competitive. Through the game, though, when you're up by 9 with, 10 minutes left or 14 or whatever it was, man, you're just like, if you could just get this win, especially when you look at the resume. And
could turn around the season.
Yeah. I was 0-4 in quad 1. They're 6-1 in quad 2, but and then no losses in 3 or 4. But it's just at some point you need to start stacking a couple quality wins if you want your tournament seed to be better than an 8 or 7. And I think there was in the Purdue game itself, and I know a lot of fans are talking about the reffing, and I think there were bad calls on both sides of the ball, and down the stretch, bad calls that hurt Iowa. There's still a stretch where Iowa like went on a cold streak and didn't score
Yep.
and didn't get a stop. You know, you need to get stops even if it's against Purdue. But it comes down to Purdue had better players. I mean,
Yeah, they certainly do.
when you're going up against Illinois too, Illinois had better players. And that's not to say I like this team a lot. It's just sometimes you got to put it in perspective. And this was a tough couple of games against Illinois and Purdue. And
Yeah, that's tough back to back.
yeah, 100%. So the one that really kills you is Minnesota, that loss. We
Yeah,
talked about
that
it.
one. I mean, you certainly at this point are thankful that you have the UCLA win to fall back on. That you're like, okay, well, at least we beat them. At least we beat Maryland early on. So it's like, could be worse, certainly. But, boy, that Minnesota loss is going to haunt you all three losses really could, I think, haunt the Hawkeyes. They had their chances in all three of those games. They, could have, should have maybe easily won at Minnesota. Illinois, it's a game where you just started slow, and it's like, boy, if it's not for a slow start, is it different? Purdue, just a few more points in the second half down the stretch, like maybe it's a different story. So you're right there, but it just has not been able to come together yet. And those times where I've talked about Ben McCollum winning some games this year that they're not supposed to win. Hasn't happened yet, but you got to think that those games are going to come in the next couple months. But right now, let's hear from Coach McCollum as he spoke. Is this post-Purdue game that we're hearing from?
Yeah, this is about the loss at Purdue in Waslav. Yep.
Yeah, let's hear from Coach Ben.
I mean, you just have to keep fighting. There's really not a lot you can do outside of continuing to fight. I think that part of trying to be good is sometimes there's a level of failure that comes with it. I think as you try to progress to be good, sometimes you do get beat, like what has occurred lately. But you can't let that impact your ability to continue to fight and continue to try to be as good as what you think you can be. And, hopefully, obviously this game, because of the crowd, obviously Indiana probably draws pretty well. I know there's Purdue people in here, they probably don't like to hear that. So there should be a good crowd there. So should be a level of excitement in that game. But our guys, they keep coming back for more. I do think sometimes when you come into this league, like I thought in the Illinois game, I thought we kind of tiptoed through the first 10 minutes trying to figure out if we were going to beat them instead of just going and beating them. I thought tonight we came in to beat them, and then they just were able to make a run towards the end there. That's how you got to come into this league. And we're still learning. I don't like to lose. I know that. But we got to be better to be able to win. You got to make those big plays down the stretch.
14 games left in the regular season for this Hawkeye team. One, they do get a chance to play Purdue again at home next time. So, again, you could possibly rewrite things there. But, yeah, he said probably going to be a good crowd at Indiana. Got to think so. Probably on target there.
Well, maybe some fans will be in Miami because they're playing for a national title on Monday.
True. That is a good point. Wait, what is that's not a Monday, is it, that they play them? Or what day is the 17th? That's a Saturday?
I meant Indiana, Miami.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But, when's this Hawkeye game against Indiana?
It's on Sunday.
It's on Sunday. Okay, yeah, that's true.
But if I'm going to Miami for a Monday, I'm going on Friday or Saturday.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, maybe he's honest. Maybe that will impact the fan base in a certain way. But, yeah, there's, as I count right now, 4 ranked teams on their schedule right now remaining. If we can actually pull up the schedule, we can take a look at some of these games that the Hawkeye team has in the immediate future. We've got at Indiana on Sunday. The following week, hosting Rutgers and hosting USC, and then they're going on the road to the West Coast to play Oregon. All 4 of these games certainly winnable for the Hawkeyes. You've got would Indiana? None of these are quad 1 games.
Indiana is 1 through 75 on the road.
Oh, I see. Yes, you're right. 1 through 75 on the road. So, yeah, I don't know. And if Oregon wins a few games, maybe they could work their way up. That might take a lot by the time they get there. Yeah,
they'd have to upset some people.
So Indiana would be a crucial one. But, yeah, Rutgers and USC and Oregon, those are games, too, that, we'll say it again. As we've been saying all along, these are games that you have to win if you're the Hawkeyes. Because, boy, if you lose 4 straight, lose 5 straight, you might start dropping out of bracketology. I mean, as good as the Big Ten is this year, if you fall to 2 and 6 in the conference, that's the point where voters are starting to think, maybe this Hawkeye team is not who we thought they were.
Yeah, and you mentioned how many games we had left. What was it, 14?
14, I believe, in the regular season.
7 are quad 1 opportunities, and those, can boost your resume, but they're also tough for opponents. You got 4 in the quad 2, 2 in the quad 3, and then Rutgers, I believe, is a quad 1 for being at home.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be difficult to get a higher seed or even the tournament if you can't win. I think Ken Palm predicts Iowa after the Indiana game to go win 6 in a row. And those are the lower kind of teams, but there is one quad one opportunity at Washington. So it's an important stretch of games, and I think I don't want to call it a must-win in January because you never know what's going to happen, but it's almost a must-win against Indiana.
You just kind of want a little bit of respect around your program, when you get late in the year. You don't want people to keep looking back, but they lost 5 straight in January or something. Like, you want to be able to keep relevant in the conversation for the top 25 or for bracketology for Andy. Not Andy Katz. He doesn't do bracketology.
Joe Lenardi.
Joe Lenardi. He's our guy. You want Joe Lenardi to keep remembering your name as a team that he's placing into that bracket somewhere. One thing that maybe concerns me about this team right now is kind of the concern that I had preseason about this team, because I'm like, boy, Ben McCollum's a great coach. He's brought in some really good players from Drake, but it's like I kind of wondered, is this a really good mid-major team? We have a bunch of really good mid-major players that are on this team right now, and that's kind of how they look right now, I'd say. They're a mid-major quality team that, mid-majors can compete with some of the best teams in the country on the right night, and that's kind of how it seems right now. It's like they're a team that can hang with just about anybody, but they have not proven the ability to win some of those games that they're keeping close against some of the best teams in the country. And so that would maybe be my concern right now, is that we're starting to see that level of talent outside of Bennett Sturts maybe come to fruition, because there still has not emerged that number 2 threat for this team. Like, Alvaro certainly has nights where he looks off. Cale Combs has actually looked pretty good in some recent games. Cam Maniau, he went scoreless, I think, in that Minnesota game, I believe, or he had a recent game where he wasn't scoring much. And so I just don't know when the talent for this team is going to emerge, or when they start to look like an actual good Big Ten team.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I do think you have to bring up, I think Ben and the coaching staff thought Alvaro Figueres would be that second option, and he just is. Some nights he is, but he really hasn't been that solid night in and night out. I mean, and sometimes he's a liability, turning the ball over, and I expected more out of him. And maybe, like you said, there's games where he plays really well. Maybe we see more of that. I mean, that one game he started against Illinois, they got down in a huge hole early. The one puzzling thing, too, is you had a Power 4 player come in, and he hasn't played since Minnesota. Brendan Hawson. He came in the second half, gave you a spark, right?
True.
He almost hit what would have been either a tying or game-winning shot at the end. Him and Bennett Sturts, Bennett had 2. He had 1 shot to tie it. He did hit a shot earlier that either tied it or brought it close. That was huge in the game at the time. And he hasn't played since then. It's puzzling, and I don't want to question, like I always say on here, don't want to question Ben McCollum. I think he's an awesome coach. But it's just like, could he have helped you? And I know his defense, what I saw against Minnesota looked all right. But say against Purdue, if you were watching that game, when Bennett was going around a screen, he'd have 2 guys right in his face, 4 feet behind the line. Like, he can't do anything if the court's not spread out. So I wonder if another shooter could do that. But obviously, Ben has other things in mind.
Yeah, especially in the midst of this 3-game streak, is like sometimes you just need to shake things up. And I feel like I'd like to see that out of having Brendan Moore on the court, just if nothing else, just like, let's see what happens, because we're in the midst of a 3-game losing streak. Really don't want a 4 to 4 or 5-game losing streak. So let's see what this guy can do for us. Looking at Alvaro's numbers, he had 4 straight games where he was in double digits. And then the last 3, he scored 0 points at Minnesota, 8 against Illinois, and then 4 against Purdue. The Hawkeyes are 8-0 when Alvaro Figueres is in double figures.
What are those 8 games, though?
Well, we don't need to talk about that. UCLA, UMass Lowell, Bucknell, Western Michigan, Chicago State, Southeast Missouri, Western Illinois, and Robert Morris.
So that's what I was saying, though. Like, the UCLA game is the outlier, obviously.
That's true.
And they're a middle of the pack, maybe Big Ten team. Maybe people thought they would be better, but the record is similar to Iowa's right now. And you see that, and you think, oh, he can do it at this level. And then those other games, it's like, man, what's not clicking? Yeah. And you don't get to see the practices in and out, so you don't really know.
Right.
But you mentioned, with all the Drake transfers, it is a good kind of test study.
Yes.
When you're around a selection Sunday and people are like, okay, this mid-major team is 30-2 or 30-3, they deserve a bid. Well, you take the core of one team, put them in the Big Ten, and now what do they end up?
Right.
they still could end up 21-10. That's what Ken Baum projects. And if you do, I was trying to like see a similar resume from last year just to see what kind of seed they'd get. And the closest I could come up with, and the resumes weren't exact, so this might be off, especially with a different year, but was around Baylor and I believe UNC, who were like 8 and 7 seeds. Or I think UNC was an 11 seed. So that's kind of where, if it projects the way it is, if I think I had them, their quad one being it would have been something like 3-8 or 3-9.
Okay.
And that's with like losses to those Big Ten top of the conference teams later in the season. So if you upset a couple of those, maybe you could move to that 6th line.
Yeah, 21-10. That would mean they'd need to win 9 more games in the regular season, which again, they've got 14 left. Boy, going 9-5 over their last 14 games would be. If you're a Hawkeye fan or player, I think you would certainly take that. I think they've got 4 games against ranked opponents. So there are a lot of winnable games out there, but got to start finally coming through with those games.
Well, say they beat Indiana on Saturday, which I think could go 50-50. It's a 50-50 game.
Sunday.
It's not Saturday.
Oh, I thought you said earlier it was Sunday. It is a Saturday game?
No, I was just talking about the national title game.
Okay, all right. Carry on.
The game's tomorrow on Saturday. Yeah, the 17th. Today's the 16th. The next 6 games after Indiana, like Iowa should win all of them. I mean, will they? I don't know. But at home against Rutgers, at home against USC.
At Oregon.
At Oregon, at Washington. Oregon's not that great. Washington's maybe a toss-up. Then Northwestern and Maryland, who Maryland's awful. Northwestern's at home. So you think they win all those games, right? Or at least you can. And then what's the record? If you had 7, you're 9-4 in the Big Ten. You're looking pretty good.
Yeah, that's true. Things
before Purdue comes to town.
Things certainly would turn around if that was the case, but you can certainly follow it all here on Eye on the Hawks. Make sure that you follow us and go back and watch Jeff Linder's conversation with us about the women's basketball team. You can follow us on YouTube, of course, where you're going to get some images along the way. Been hard for us to get out to some of these games, especially when you got a late start like that Oregon game, but normally we're going to have a lot more highlights sprinkled throughout the show. But you can find us wherever you find the podcast, and we'll be back every week, I think, still going forward, trying to close out the rest of the regular season, doing a weekly show where we talk about everything this team does. Hopefully the Hawkeyes getting out of that losing streak, and the women, if they can stay perfect in the Big Ten going forward. So again, we want to thank Jeff Linder for joining us on this week's show. For Mike and Erica, who's at the controls, I'm Owen Sebring. We'll see you next time on Eye on the Hawks.
At DePaco Credit Union, we value your health and happiness as much as your financial well-being. We encourage the volunteer spirit by providing DePaco employees with the tools and resources to help grow our communities and support the causes that matter to us. We believe that giving back not only strengthens the places we call home, but also enhances our overall well-being. Well-being is the key to a life worth loving. So when you think about yours, remember that DePaco can help you be well.